friends, this autumn brings us a lot of beautiful warm colors like yellow colors, orange colors, red, dark red, some dark green colors, a lot of brown colors. And it is impossible to stay and look only. You want to paint and you want to explore something new. And in today's video, I invite you to draw and paint with me. It will be a guided class where we will be drawing these beautiful fruits of nature, like these beautiful red berries and these beautiful different colors of leaves. And as well, we will be painting some nuts. But before we start, my name is Ala. I'm a sketch illustrator and watercolorist, and from 2020 I'm an art teacher too. And from 2022 I give also classes on my Patreon, and in this autumn I propose to you to bring all your colorful watercolors and to paint with me this beautiful landscape and this beautiful autumn wreath that it is already available on my Patreon. Now I want you to see how I share my knowledges with you in this short video and to start to paint with me this beauty. So let's jump in. Meanwhile, I will be drawing. I will share the materials that we will need for this 30 minutes masterclass. I will be using watercolor papers, 200 GSM. You can use any higher density. If you use any thinner density like 160 GSM, then just make sure that you do not apply too much watercolors, too much water in watercolors, because if not, the paper will get wavy and it will be slightly more difficult to control the watercolors, how it runs on the paper. I use the Faber-Castell HB pencil. You can use HB, any other company. It is not necessarily to stay with Faber-Castell. I just love this brand and I like to use it. Then you can see here it is a knittable eraser, as well Faber-Castell company. You can use any other type of eraser, not knittable one. I love to use knittable eraser because it is not damaging the paper, and later on the watercolor stays very beautifully on the paper like it wasn't any drawing previously done. Now I will use it the same. We will need the micron pen. I will be using Staedtler pen, micron, well, black pen, or you can use any black pen that you have. We will outline all the details, all the work that we are drawing. Now we will outline with Staedtler pen, and later on I will erase everything, then we'll apply the watercolors. The watercolors that I will be using is White Knight 36 pens, and the palette it is the same. About paintbrushes, the paintbrushes that I will be using during this class will be Skoda number 6 Kolinsky and Van Gogh number 4 Synthetics. You can use any medium round paintbrush and any small tiny paintbrush synthetics that will allow you to work with the details. Let's proceed to the work itself. As far as you notice, on the left corner we have the reference, and you can follow along with the reference to see what I'm drawing. I'm not repeating all the details that we have on the reference. We are not copying it. We just get inspired with the fruits of autumn, with the leaves, and I just repeat some of those. I have opted to do different types of leaves and to create several colors. So to make this work more complex, I used leaves with different colors. That's you can see how I work on those. I started with the autumn red berries and later on with the leaves. I have chosen different size of leaves, different forms of those that we can draw different, and as well different colors, because later on I want to show you how to mix up different colors and how to recreate the beauty of autumn only in several leaves, because the palette of autumn is very rich and it is the most interesting moment when to do it. You can follow along myself and draw the same leaves, the same fruits that I do. If not, just make sure to make your own. The reference is full of different leaves, so you can try any of those on your own, and as well just only follow along my instructions and tips on how to draw, how to paint. Yeah. Pay attention that I create the composition in such a way that we leave very few space in between of each leaf, but at the same time we proceed with different sizes of the leaves. I don't have a few small size leaves on one side of the paper and the bigger leaves on another side. So I complete one leaf bigger with one smaller. Also, if I wish, I change a little bit the form of the leaf. For example, this leaf I slightly change with the leaf that we have on the reference. You can also put on pause this video if you feel that I'm drawing too fast, and follow along it. So you can also enjoy it in this way. This is the beauty of working with online classes, is that you can make this to stop the video and to draw on your own path. Obviously, when we start drawing such kind of composition, the first details, it is easier to draw the first leaves, the first objects, because we have plenty of space. Later on, once we are coming to the end of the composition, we have to choose everything else what to draw, just to make sure that we have enough space on the paper. For example, I always advise that before you are starting to draw anything, you just analyze perfectly the reference. You feel like which details or which leaves you want to draw, which fruits you want to represent on the paper, and later on only start, because many times the plans are changing, and you can change the thoughts of what you would draw or paint. For example, here on my last corner, I'm still thinking on what I would like to do, because there is not enough space for bigger leaves, but as well I don't want to draw too many small things over here. And you can see that somewhere I am just moving around. For example, these berries, red berries, weren't in plan to be drawn, but I decided that this will be the most perfect fit for my composition. I'm not drawing the longer stem, I only draw the smaller stems that we see that connect these red berries with one another. Finishing my composition with a knot, and now you can prepare your micron pen, Stadler pen, black pen, whatever black pen you have. And what now it is the easiest part. You just follow along the drawing you've done. You repeat all the lines that you did already, outline the work, and then you just fill it in color. So now I will leave you to repeat all the drawing. Coming to the end of the outlining work and preparing our watercolors. You will need some plain water, some tissues, a hair dryer, and the watercolors and brushes, obviously. Now I take my kneadable eraser and I will erase everything that we have only the outline of the black pen. It is important to have a good black pen, or because if not, it can make some unpleasant issues on the work that we've done. If your black pen needs to stay a little bit to dry, wait a while and then go over with the eraser. Now I proceed with the watercolors. I start with raw sienna and I will be painting this beautiful autumn leaf in raw sienna color. Here I will apply the wet and wet technique. As a base we are using the raw sienna color, but later on I will add more brown colors to make this work to outstand and that the colors are mixing one into another. In this work I think that it is easy enough. I don't really use the palette, but I'm working straight on the paper. But if you feel that you need to mix up the colors, if you need to add something for example that you are not used to, then yes. Now for example the middle line I do it with yellow color. You can also add some lighter color because those will mix up beautifully on the paper and will be a really nice effect. Here I use the burnt sienna for creating darker uh, colors. And pay attention that I have changed the paintbrush. I use now the Van Gogh number 4 synthetics. It is smaller. My size of the paper it is A5, and obviously I need some smaller paintbrush to recreate all the details that we see. And little by little I add dots or lines on this leaf, and because we are working on wet on wet technique, it means that the paper is not dried yet, and I apply the color. We see that the colors start to run and to mix one into another, creating a very beautiful and smooth transition. I will come back also to this leaf to add some other layers and adjusting the details, but now I work a lot on it, mainly because here I use wet on wet technique, and my main idea is to recreate the object and to add as many details as I can and to make the transitions as smoothly as we can. Here I used raw sienna for the lighter side of the object, and I use some burnt sienna for details. For the outline color I use also burnt sienna, and I will use some sepia later on for the shadow. Moving to the next leaf, and here I will use as main color some yellow and ochre color. The base color I apply with my Kolinsky paintbrush because it is bigger and it is easier to apply for bigger surfaces. I don't forget about the stem. What I like about this paintbrush is that it is a bigger size, it is round, and as well it has a very thin point that you can also draw some smaller details. Here this leaf I apply with yellow color, If you look to the reference, it looks like reddish, but as the base color we have yellow color. Later on I will add some red colors that recreate this beauty. Now I take some ruby color and I apply the details. Meanwhile the paper is still wet. Same as on the previous leaf, I use wet on wet technique to mix the colors straight on the paper and to recreate these darker parts of the leaf. After finishing painting this leaf, I will leave it to dry, that later on to work on details. And once I'm done with this leaf, I proceed to another leaf that it is green color, and for that leaf I already use the olive green color. I apply on the whole surface, and I also apply not only the highlight but also the shadow with darker color, and I use green color. Moving with the nut, and here I apply the raw sienna color because we have light brown color. And moving as well to the stem of the berries that we have, the red berries, and I paint it with raw sienna too. The only thing I will change now the paintbrush to have it easier to paint on it. And meanwhile the stem it is still wet, I use some sepia to add the darker colors, the darker details, and to create this smooth transition from one color to another on this beautiful stem. Now I use red color for the berries. I use cadmium red light, and I also leave some white spaces somewhere to recreate the highlights, but because it is the main color, I will apply almost everywhere the red color. Later on we will work with the shadows, but now it is just about painting the first layer with the ruby color and completing these beautiful berries. After finishing with these berries, I move with the other berries that I have. That, if you remember, I told you that these weren't on plan to be drawn, but pay attention that in terms of color, the composition is getting even better because we have a mix of different colors, like different mix of warm colors, red, brown, ochre color, green colors, what makes this composition that to fluently to go from one color to another. Coming back to the leaf, and here I add some ruby color to add the lines. The leaf it is not dried completely, but I still try to do the lines that we see inside, the details that we see inside. If you want, you can try the work first and then go over on it. I take some burnt sienna for creating these details that we see on the nut. And as well with burnt sienna, I add this color to the stems of the berries that we have on the right corner. Moving with the next leaf, and as well I add some raw sienna as the base color. Here I use this smaller paintbrush because the leaf is smaller. And now, meanwhile it is wet, I take some burnt sienna and add some details. Moving with this big leaf that we have, and I add some yellow and ochre color. I took some yellow color first because it is a very light color for it, but still it is not as vivid as it is yellow color. This is why I take some ochre color to neutralize this yellow color and to make it not so colorful, so to make it a little bit more pale, even though the color it looks really beautiful. Meanwhile the leaf is drying, I will take some red color, and I take now the English red for the shadows, for the outlining of the berries that we have painted earlier. The paper, it is not dried completely, but it is not either very wet, what makes that the shadow to stay very firm, and it is not either getting this very clear outline, and it makes the work even more interesting. I will take some plain water as well to neutralize the outline and to make the transition smoother. But here you can see that I already started to add some color to the berries to make the contrast. On some berries I feel like the color is too pale, and I will need to add more cadmium red color to make it more vivid. The only fruits that we see on the reference that have very beautiful and vivid color are the berries, and we have to make those two stand out. Now I take some olive green color and I add some smaller tiny details on the bigger leaf that I have painted earlier. It is not wet completely, it is a little bit dried, the paper, what makes the colors to stay more firm and not to run all over, but it's still very pleasant to watch. And I add some green color to add more contrast. Some were green, some were burnt sienna. For example, the details that I am showing now are with burnt sienna, but still we have some green colors to maintain on the leaves. This is why I added as well some greenery. adding some more details. Somewhere I add a little bit of red color, and for the nut I take some sepia and I add some more different brown colors. Look what you have on your palette to intensify the contrast. Now another leaf. If you pay attention, I've made this leaf a little bit bigger than it is on the reference. This is because I just wanted to recreate it on this composition, and I thought that it is okay to change the size of the leaf if we need it. And I added the yellow color first, and meanwhile it is wet, I add some sepia. Here I use the olive green color for the main color, and I will use some burnt sienna for the brown side of it. As the first layer, somewhere 2 layers were already done, and now what I do, I look where I need to apply some more color, where I need to intensify the color, where I need to add some more details. So you have to look on your work as well. Sometimes it can be the same like in my case, sometimes you can have some different leaves or details to work on. For example, on this nut I add now these details. So little by little we are coming to the end of this work. I hope you enjoyed this masterclass with me. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I will be happy to answer. Dear friends, I hope that you took your watercolor paper and your watercolor paints and you painted with me. And I hope you enjoyed this short but intense class where you have learned a lot of new techniques like wet on dry technique, as well how to draw these beautiful leaves of autumn and so on. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me in the comments right below. As well, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to this channel. But for now, till the next time, bye!